My name is Rossy, and I'm the lead curator of TIFF's Discovery Program, which is a showcase of new talent and cinema from around the world. We have a long history of championing the first and second films of exceptional filmmakers, including Chantal Akerman, Julie Dash, Ildiko Yeti, Yorgos Lanthimos, Jafar Panahi, Trinity Minha, Steve McQueen, Michael Haneke, Christopher Nolan, Lab Diaz, Barry Jenkins, Alfonso Cuarón, Athena Rachel Singari, Warwick Thornton, Marin Atta, Joaquin Trier, David Gordon Green, Pablo Larraín, Valeska Grisabach, and Jean-Marc Vallée, to name just a handful. Discovery is a place to find work that is bold, distinctive, adventurous, and above all passionate. And as such, it is my great honor to be introducing you to the first film of Benjamin Millepied Carmen. You are the very first audience in the world to see this film. Lead and major sponsors RBC, Bell, Bulgarian Visa for their continued support. Further thank goes to our major supporters, the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, Telefilm Canada, and the City of Toronto. Carmen screens as part of the Discovery Program, which is generously supported by Dyson. It is eligible for the People's Choice Award, which you could vote for by going on tiff.net/vote and using your ticket number to vote. Benjamin Millepied was born in Bordeaux, France. He studied dance at the School of American Ballet and served as the director of dance with the Paris Opéra Ballet from 2013 to 2016. He has extensive choreography credits for theater, major dance companies, and film, including Black Swan in 2010, which played at the festival. That's right. Carmen is his feature debut. We would like to thank Mongrel Media, Sony Pictures Classics, and TF1 Studio for providing us with the film, and thanks to Screen Australia for their generous support. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage the wonderful, the gracious, the very talented Benjamin Millepied.
Thank you all for being here today. I'd like to welcome to the stage my dear friends and cast worked on this film, and the compositor extraordinaire Nicholas Britell. Actors. We'll start with Rossy de Palma. Paul Mescal. Melissa Barrera. I would like to thank our writer Alex Dinelaris. My producers, Rosemary Blight, and of course, Dimitri and Assam, thank you for your trust, Dimitri. Thank you. I'd like to also extend big thanks to Michael Barker and Tom Bernard and the entire team at Sony Pictures Classics. And lastly, of course, the Toronto Film Festival. Thank you on that about survival and the indomitable female spirit. And I'd like to dedicate this film to my mother. Enjoy. Thank you so much.
Let's welcome back to the stage Benjamin Millepied, Nicholas Britell, Rossy de Palma, Paul Mescal, and Melissa Barrera.
Nick Britell.
Oh, he was the second man. Welcome. Thank you so much for your beautiful film. Let's have a conversation. First, Benjamin, you're no stranger to the stage, but this is an incredible directorial debut. Let's begin by asking, why Carmen?
Well, when I make a dance for the stage, usually it's to a piece of music I've been listening to for years and years. And Carmen, in a sense, I remember dancing West Side Story in New York for New York City Ballet. And I was making short films at the time, and I was thinking about what story I could tell that was in me, and Carmen, because it was the opera of my childhood and a story that resonated with me. In some sense, my mother's story, to some extent, was something that I stayed in me for years and years until Nick and I really, 6 years ago, or something like that, started to talk about making a musical together, and I brought Carmen to his attention. And he said, no Bizet.
I said no Bizet, yeah. I said the Bizet is so amazing, and I didn't want to try to rearrange the Bizet, or it's such a timeless masterpiece on its own. And so we started from that point, and it wasn't really clear what the music would be, actually, and so much of this was really a process of experiment and discovery for all of us. And some of those elements were really, figured out almost towards the very end.
I'd love to know more about that writing process. Were you in a room with the writers, with Nicholas all together, thinking of it chronologically, or did you come on a little bit later to add the musical flavors?
Well, I think we probably talked about music first.
Pretty early on,
Yeah.
but it was a question mark. It wasn't obvious at all what that would be. And as we went through that process, there's certainly a lot of on-camera music and dance. And we brought on incredible collaborators. So on the songs, all the original songs, I had the honor of working with Julieta Venegas, and the DOC, who you see in the film, wrote that track Pelea with me as well, and Taura Stinson, incredible songwriters. So we worked on those all the way up to the filming.
But it wasn't, the process was similar to when I worked for the stage. The music, first the songs, and then even some score that I asked you to write, some darker elements, really inspired the story, the visual language, images, atmosphere, early on.
At what point did you start thinking about casting?
Well, early on. I think, you have to find a Mexican Carmen, and with sort of, you see what Melissa does in this movie. It's extraordinary, the dancing, the singing. So yeah, it was a process of finding Melissa first and foremost, and then of course, it was just no one else to play Matilda in the world.
Icon. Rossy, could you tell us, how did you approach the character of Matilda?
I didn't approach. The character came. We wait for her, and she came. This film is very, very special experience. It's the first time I see the film. I have to tell you, I'm very touched, very moved, and what an adventure! And I don't know how to explain it, but I fell in love the way Benjamin works, and it's very good for me, because I like to don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? In life, we don't know what's going to happen, and I like to work like that. I like to go a little bit blind, like that. And even if you can fall, or this is the beautiful risk. And in this film, I can work like I work like I love to work. And he was. I don't know. It was an amazing experience. Very wild, and very mystic too. And we feel it when we see the film. We feel all that, all this mystery, and it's like the moment. One of the moments I love it so much is when we are partying. We the happiness before the drama, before the tragedy, and how the camera dance with us. The camera dance all the way. All the film is dancing, and you feel like you dance with the camera, with the way he moves the camera, the way all Paul, Melissa, everything here in this film is so organic, and on the music, how I can tell about this amazing music, and my heart is full. I cannot say any word. I cannot even explain it. I cannot even explain it. I'm so happy to be part of this. It's more than a film. It's more than a film.
Paul, you're next up. You're having an incredible year, and this character just shows even more of your range. How did you approach Aidan? What was your first initial reaction to the character?
Yeah, I suppose the first response I had to reading the script was that it was going to be incredibly physical. I was looking at like not only the dancing but the kind of big boxing sequence at the end of the film, which definitely put me through my paces. So it was kind of looking at that from a distance and going like, there's a lot of work between now and then, and totally just jumped in with Benjamin, and he like everything I asked for in terms of rehearsals. He set me up in a boxing gym, and actually the guy that I fight in the film, he's like an amazing, like crazy, like proper boxer. So yeah, if I messed up, he would like, it was dangerous. Yeah. But yeah, it was a kind of physical introduction to the film, and then just me and Melissa and Benjamin got into the weeds on it, and I loved every second of it.
Woo! And Melissa, for you, incredibly demanding role. You are stunning between the choreography, the singing, the acting. What did Carmen mean to you during this period?
This was, I don't even know how to answer that question, because it was all such a blur, and at the same time the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most joyous. I was feeling very scared most of the time making this movie, because of, you know, everything that, not only that I had to do in the movie, but like what Carmen means to a lot of people. And that felt like some huge weight on my shoulders, but I think that informed the character and her journey and the pain that she's in, and her fire. And I loved getting to work with Benjamin, and him trusting me with this was huge. And getting to work with Paul and Rossy and Nick in the studio way before, like in 2018, we started doing things. And it was just a beautiful process that is unlike anything else that I've ever done, because it took so long. Like I was, you know, I jumped on board in 2018, and it took a while for us to be able to make the movie. So I kind of I felt a bit like Carmen, like fighting and like yearning for this thing to happen and not giving up on it. And so I think, I don't even know, I'm rambling, but I don't even know if I answered that question or not. But anyway, it was a pleasure and a privilege to be a part of this with all of you. I'm so grateful, and thank you all for being here. And I'm so sorry, I have to catch a flight actually, and I literally have to go to the airport right now. So thank you all for coming, and I will leave you for more questions, Melissa. More stuff here. I love you all.
Thank you. We love you. Thank you. We will continue the Q&A. Whimsical and dazzling. Thank you. But Benjamin, it's but it's really interesting to hear about the timeline, and I wonder, how much time did you actually have to rehearse, to shoot? What kind of scope was there for making the film?
I had the luck of starting some of the dances before pre-production on the group of dancers that you see in the film. But yeah, it's really a thing to choreograph and direct. Gratefully, I didn't choreograph all the sequences. You know, obviously the flamenco I structured, and I wanted something specific in the opening sequence, but Marina choreographed that section with me. And then of course the crumping was also a collaboration, you know. But essentially you want to sort of get the choreography out of the way so you can focus on all the directorial issues that you have and production design and so forth. So it's quite a lot.
Were there more anticipated challenges that you didn't foresee? What was the biggest surprise?
Every day. No, I mean, listen, it was all things I was interested in, obviously, loving to block the camera, to figure out what was right for the scene, for each scene. You know, you have a lot of camera movements, and you have scenes where the camera is still, and everything felt like everything's an important decision, but everything is is done for a reason. And no, I was interested in all of it. Probably the most surprising and the new thing entirely was directing actors, and just knowing how important it is to inspire the actors from take to take. And this was a new journey, and they really trusted me and were wonderful and brought so much creativity to the process. And I wanted, in the studio when I make a dance, you're inspired by who you have in front of you, by the little things that happen. It's really the spontaneity of just life happening in front of your eyes, to be very sensitive to it. So I really try to do the same thing. It's just all very, very similar. There's a reason why a lot of choreographers become directors.
I have a question. Were a lot of the actors in the background all professional dancers as well, or were these?
You mean extras?
The extras, yes.
No. I had a lot of ambition with what I wanted the extras to do, and that was actually one of the things I realized. I thought, well, I see Scorsese can do all this very fancy movements, but now I realize maybe he has 3 more days, and the extras have done this before. So I had to. That was the sort of thing. You have to be able to, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to spend an hour on it. Let's do something else, which is really, really important.
I would like to take a couple of questions from the audience, questions that are not comments. Raise your hands, please. Yes.
Hey, how's it going? I want to know, what were Benjamin's notes to you for this? Because this score was unlike anything that I was expecting coming into it.
The question is for Nicholas, and it was, what were Benjamin's notes to you?
What was fantastic about working with Benjamin was that he was totally open, and we both early on had certain themes that I think Benjamin was drawn to. There were sort of feelings, I think. There was a dreamscape type of feeling I think we were going for. There was a sense of fate that I think we sort of kept discovering over time musically. But I would say, note-wise, I think he really left it to me to sort of figure out what I felt was right. And as we went, he really encouraged me and pushed me to make the music even more forward. And I think that led to the final discovery that we had, which was the choir, because actually I did not anticipate having a choir in the score at all. And by the end, the whole score is essentially a choir and an orchestra. And one thing I would note about the choir that we basically sort of incorporated in post, which was the choir's actually singing the original lyrics of the opera in French set to my new music. So the whole time you're watching, and we could maybe provide the translations, but the whole time the lyrics actually are counterpoint to what's happening. So you're seeing English and Spanish, and you're hearing French.
Yes, in the aisle. So it's a 2-part question. The first part is about the cinematography, and if you can comment on that, how you captured these movements. And the second part was if you could remember some exceptional moments from the shooting.
It was when I started when I worked on Black Swan, and I was rehearsing with Natalie in the studio, and I was watching. We were trying things out, and I had a little camera at the time, and I was moving the camera around her and trying to see how her movement would look best. And I remember showing the footage to Darren, and Darren was like, "Who shot that?" I was like, "Oh, that's just me trying things out." And I fell in love with realize, and that's a lot what we did on Black Swan with the handheld camera, was really moving the camera and really being with the upper body and being immersed in the dance. And here I used that again quite a bit with the Steadicam, because Melissa still, she's so convincing as a dancer, but having that movement and being in the dance and being really focused on the upper body mostly really sort of enhances, I think, it really feels the audience is really dancing with the dancers, and they were long takes, and they were challenging and really fun to create.
And for everyone, memorable stories from the set? Secrets or many secrets?
Pushing the truck up the hill. So the truck that Mike's truck, we were shooting night shoots, and it was 3 tons. Yeah, it's heavy.
and it decided to die at the bottom of the hill, and the light was coming, and there was about 10 of us just pushing it up. So I think the shot that you see when it like rolls down the hill is just the like truck freewheeling down.
Yeah,
and,
it's Mike being as mad as the character, just like driving that thing down, and we literally pushed it, and we thought, oh my God, they're just going down and down and down. It's just like they're never going to be able to stop, and somehow he
stopped
did.
it on his mark.
Yeah, he did. He stopped it on his mark. Yeah.
Thanks.
One crazy night.
Yes. Yes.
So this movie uses the movement of the camera and the bodies a lot to tell the story, as opposed to dialogue and music like a more traditional kind of movie. Was that always part of your vision?
It was kind of inevitable because, you know, I'm also used to telling stories in movement on stage, and you know, this relationship and this connection with Nick and the score being so important and how it really drove the whole process of creating this story. You know, I knew that this would happen, but it ended up being something that's just so in me to have all these sections back to back that tell a story without any dialogue. That I think, you know, it was. I can't say I knew it was going to be like that. It's my first film, but it, you know, inevitably, I think this was going to be something that would, you know, appear in this work.
Great. Yes. Yes. The question is for Paul, and you made a comment about how difficult the physicality of the fighting was, but can you comment on the dancing?
Yeah, it was, that was hard. Like, I loved kind of movement and dancing in drama school, and I think when I was like on the flight on the way over to Australia, I was like, what am I doing? Like just because it is like it's Benjamin is teaching you, and I'd seen videos of Melissa dancing, and I was like, oh, like. So there was like a pressure to that, but I was also like in the best hands. Like Benjamin wasn't, like, he was adamant that it wasn't about it being like polished, and I think it would look kind of absurd if Aidan suddenly broke out into like pirouettes, nor was that really an option. So I feel like it was rooted in character in a kind of lyrical fashion, and we just worked pretty hard, and there's dance sequences that aren't in the cut that kind of broke my heart a little bit because we rehearsed it for months and months. But yeah, no, so it was through Benjamin just kind of teaching me, essentially. Yeah.
I hope those can be sent to you privately as little memories.
Please.
But I think it was something that I was after. You know, I remember talking to Jerry Robbins and hearing how when he did West Side Story in the 50s, his really major problem was how to make gang member dance, you know, and not look ridiculous. And he really created a language of the street and kids at the time that worked in the 50s, but it was really, my idea was, okay, I want this to feel realistic. I want him to be a person dancing and not a character becoming a dancer suddenly, you know. So, and then that's why also the approach with the brutality of the movement with the boxing felt like something that was emotionally connected to, you know, to that fight, that brutal fight.
Listen, I wish we could keep talking to all of you. I want to congratulate you on the film and to remind you that you're the very first audience in the world to see this film, and you can vote for it.
Thank you for coming.
You can vote for it, tiff.net/vote. And thank you all so much.
Vote.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.